This is the Final Word Daily. Geoff Lemon, Bharat, Sundaresan coming to you from Delhi. We found a nice park to hang out in with a bunch of pigeons who, well, they just flew away because we walked in. But, you know, they'll be back. They're pigeons. They're not scared of anything. We've got so much time between the test matches that we keep thinking about cricket and wondering where our thoughts should go next. And one thing that people have been asking us about is India's top order. The lack of runs from the top order. So you look at this series, it's all about the spinners, right? The numbers since Akshar Patel debuted, he's been averaging 15 with the ball and 31 with the bat. In that time, Ashwin, 16 with the ball, 27 with the bat. And Jadeja, 21 with the ball, 39 with the bat. Pretty useful when your spinners can do that job for you. But both times, in both of the first two test matches, in the first innings for India, coming in with runs on the board that Australia have put up, and this goes back for the last few years as well. This is consistent. Pretty much aside from Rohit Sharma, who's worked out this method on turning pitches and has been able to score big runs on regular occasions, the rest of the top order haven't been contributing much, and then it's the lower to middle order bailing them out time and again. What's up?
I mean, look, I call it a cheat code. It's almost, again, my voice is getting better now, but I'm getting there. It's not there. I just had a doctor consult, by the way, just at this park. And she was lovely, and she said that I'm much better than I must have been a few days ago. So I'll give it my best shot. But it's like having a cheat code, right? Where it's like you and I are playing a video game, and, you know, as video games go, after I lose the 6th or 7th wicket, the rest of them are not good enough. You just have to land the ball on the spot and they get out. But here, it's like you've just discovered this cheat code which you're not sharing with me, you being the Indian team, where you have three guys who can win you matches and who completely or continue to win matches for you with the ball. And they also can win your matches with the bat, and they can bail your team out, not just once or the odd occasion, but literally every time. We've seen it happen in this series already. For India, 5 for 168, they end up making 400 because of Jadeja and Akshar Patel. They're 7 for 138, they end up getting nearly on par with Australia thanks to Ashwin and Akshar Patel. So at some levels, I almost feel it's unfair, but it also kind of, in a lot of Indian fans and Indian experts' opinions, like papers over the cracks that have been developing in that Indian top order, especially while playing against spin at home.
Yeah, so this is an Indian top order that, on paper, really, really good. You look at the things that all of these players have done over the years. Rohit Sharma, I mean, KL Rahul's played some incredible innings in his time. Pujara at 3, who's played 100 test matches and been a star. Kohli at 4. But then most of these players are not in the peak form of their careers. They're not playing to the level that we've seen them be able to play before. I'd like to make one important distinction here, I think. A lot of people just look at the stats sheets and it's really easy to go, oh, you know, Kohli hasn't made 100 since 2019 or whatever it is. They're playing on surfaces here where you don't necessarily need to make hundreds, or where it's not easy to make hundreds. I mean, the 20 that Kohli makes in the run chase in Delhi this week ends up being the innings that pretty much kills the game. Pujara with 31 not out is the one who sees it through and is able to seal the game. These are conditions where making a 40 or a 60 might be more important than making 100 somewhere else on a flat track where everyone's able to do it. So you can't necessarily just look at the quantum of runs and say that that's not enough, because it depends on the match situation and the conditions. At the same time, it's pretty evident, and this has been going on for a while, that Kohli in particular is frustrated by the kind of pitches that they're getting because they don't allow big scores. So yeah, sure, you can make a 60 and it's a match-winning 60, but that still doesn't give you the satisfaction of having made the ton or having got that monkey off his back of the 100. I'm sure that someone like him would actually quite like a, you know, Ranchi 2017 sort of wicket. Those kind of pitches where an Indian team could make 500, 600, and still put the pressure on and win. It would take them longer to do it. They'd have to play the patience game with their spinners rather than just crashing through a team, bang, bang, bang. But there's still a path to victory doing that, and that's in a way that lets your batters into the series and into the stats.
Yeah, and the best example of that is that long summer, the 2016-17, not summer, winter I should say, in India, where and which ended with the Australia series the last time Australia were here, where they had already played 9 test matches by the time Australia landed, and Ashwin and Jadeja had bowled some insane number of overs, like well over I think 1200, 1400 overs between them before Australia came, which is also one of the main reasons the Indian team management felt that the Pune pitch had to favour them to such an extent that they can literally keep their shoulders intact for the rest of the series. But you see some of those scores when they beat when they smashed England in 2016. England were making a lot of runs as well. I mean, they
Yeah.
would get 300 in the first
Oh,
innings.
400. England were making 450 and
Absolutely,
then
in
conceding
Chennai.
650.
Exactly, and then collapsing in the second innings
Yeah.
because
They were tired.
they were really tired. And Ashwin and Jadeja are the kind of bowlers who really don't always need like a rank turner to run through sides in home conditions. And home conditions doesn't automatically mean it's a rank turner. It's not a Puna.
That's what I'm getting at. Like the flat Indian road is as much a traditional part of cricket in this part of the world. And you see that going back to the 1930s. You know, there are so many tours where maybe there's a result early and then everything's a flat track after that. You know, 5 tests are played, it's a 1-0 result, that sort of thing. It's not a given that everything's a Bunsen burner once you come to India.
Not at all. And and we had that summer, that season when that was happening. It's only since almost like 2019. And Rohit Sharma said this after the,
Something's gone really right for somebody.
yeah, I know. Firecrackers are very common here in Delhi. Hopefully it is a firecracker. After the game in Nagpur, he said that we've been playing on challenging pitches for the last 4 or 5 years, and we'll continue to do that. And again, by challenging, he doesn't mean that they've all been ranked turners. I mean, there was some series like 2015 against South Africa, maybe, where the pitches you could like kind of raise an eyebrow at them.
There was that one against South Africa. There's the 2-dayer in Ahmedabad against England, and there's Pune in 2017.
Yeah.
They're probably the ones that stand out as the most. You know, when you see the ball exploding up puffs of dust in the first session on day one.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, even in England, you'll have some tracks which are just so green that the game's over in like 2.5 days.
Sure.
It doesn't happen all the time. But similarly, in India, like, so it's not that they've always played on these kind of pitches. It's just that in the last few years, I don't know, maybe it's the quantum of cricket that they're playing. Maybe it's, and it's not a call taken by Ashwin and Jadeja, let's make that clear. Maybe the team management feel like, you know, this is their best chance of winning matches and winning matches almost quickly, so that the spinners are fresh every time they take the field. That's my take on it.
Right.
And as a result, like you said, a lot of top order batters, the averages have dropped significantly. When I was doing some number crunching, just like you were, apart from Rohit Sharma, Mayank Agarwal, and to a small extent Shreyas Iyer, but he's only played 5 tests, including this one. So his average has already dropped to 44 because of 2 failures. Yeah, but nobody else has even averaged about 30 or 32. Kohli's in his 20s, Rahul's just about 30 or just under 30. Pujara's in the 20s, and it's not that they haven't played match-winning innings, but it's that they aren't scoring runs the way they were in 2016, because you were reading out some averages for Pujara and Kohli from 2016 and 2017, and they're crazy.
They're huge. They're at least 50 plus, if not 70 or 80 plus for series. You know, but particularly, I mean, for Pujara, through that period from about 2013 up to 2017, that last Australian tour. And then since then, you know, there have been 1 or 2 decent series against Bangladesh or West Indies, but for the most part, and it goes back through that COVID era as well. There's the England tour, there's a New Zealand tour, there's a Sri Lanka tour, where both Kohli and Pujara are averaging 20s or low 30s at best across those series. You go back to the South African tour before COVID, and Pujara didn't make runs there either. Kohli did make big runs in that series, but in that last, say, 3 years, and they haven't played a vast amount of Test cricket. There haven't been that many tours, but the returns have been low, and it's interesting. I keep trying to get my head around it, because you watch those two come out and bat. I mean, at the moment, Pujara looks like a terrible starter. Kohli looks like a great starter, comes out and makes 20 or 30, looks immaculate and gets out. Pujara walks out, looks awful, and then if he's able to get into his innings, then as happens in the run chase here in Delhi, he starts to look better and better as the innings goes on. But it's a pretty consistent pattern over a pretty long period of time that your two main players, and there's a parallel with the Smith and Labuschagne thing at 3 and 4 for Australia in this series, that they're the ones expected, they're the ones best equipped to deliver bulk runs, but they're not delivering bulk runs. Like, what gives? How can you figure it out?
Yeah, I think at times you can't really explain it. There is no cricketing rationale behind it. I mean, let's take Virat Kohli in this series. And I think overall, in the last few years, people talk about his play against spin. I think he still has a very good record against off spin, like right arm off spin. And Todd Murphy gets him out. Well, I'm not saying he was unlucky, but it was nothing ball really, that kind of he chases instinctively and gets caught down the leg side by Alex Carey. Here, he was looking outstanding against even Nathan Lyon, who was in the middle of a magical spell, but everything was coming over the middle of the bat.
Yeah, and he's backing away to leg and hitting it through the off. He's using his feet around the crease and all the rest of it.
Absolutely, even the pull shot, the way he adjusted when the ball stayed low, and he was really enjoying himself. He was in having a chat with all the Australian players, with Lyon, and then the old left-arm spinner comes in, Matthew Kuhneman, and that has been an issue. I mean, it happens to batters around the world. Even the best, like, suddenly they develop this weakness sort of against one particular kind of bowler. And the left-arm spinner has troubled Virat Kohli. We've seen it in other formats as well. Mitchell Santner's done well, or even the likes of some leggies like Adil Rashid, Adam Zampa, Ish Sodhi has got him out a few times. But it happens. It's almost nonchalant the way Matthew Kuhneman gets him out. There's nothing great about the ball. I mean, it just slides in, and he just misreads the line, and it hits him in the pad, and he's given out.
Yep.
So it's one of those weird things.
Yep.
Even when he's looking good for a big 100, like he was in the first innings here, a left-arm spinner just comes in and pulls a straight ball and gets him out.
Yeah, but then Murphy, the right-arm off-spinner, really set him up in that second innings. Beat the outside edge 3 times, I think, with the slider. He was around the wicket, straightening them down the line and sliding them across. And Kohli obviously couldn't read which one was which because he was beaten a few times. That's when he decides to step out to try to defend, and that's the ball that goes across him and provides the stumping. He's never been stumped in his career.
Exactly.
He's played a very long Test career without being stumped. So that felt significant in its own way. Pujara at 100 Test matches. I mean, I don't get the feeling that he's wrapping up. I think he wants to play for as long as he can. But what do you think?
No, absolutely. I don't think he's nearing the end at all. Especially because he's got a second shot at Test cricket. A lot of people felt maybe this time last year that it had come and gone. He makes some county runs. India just, as it turns out, scheduled to play that one Test match. Who knows if that series had been completed the previous year, maybe Pujara doesn't get his chance. Everything in life is about timing, as we know. And he looks hungry. But having said that, the fact that Nathan Lyon had got him out LBW once.
Twice in 7 balls.
Exactly, once in some 1100 plus balls before Delhi, and then he gets him out twice in 6 balls. Again, the same way Pujara uses his feet, jumps out of the crease, Nathan Lyon still finds a way of beating the inside edge and hitting his pad and getting him trapped in front. So I think that is also a sign of someone who is on the last leg, or at least in the latter half or the latter quarter of their career.
Latter half would be very generous.
Yeah,
he'd be playing until he was 48 or something if it's just tipped into the second half. I mean, he's making bulk runs in England, he did last season for Sussex, but that is second division county cricket. It's not as tough like there might be. You come up against, say, Shaheen Shah Afridi, but the rest of that bowling lineup isn't that standard. So it's like if you're a player, top level player, facing one really good bowler, you can see them out if you know that everybody else is more manageable, whereas if you know that someone else of quality is coming in after that and after that and after that, it's different. Right, so you think he's just going to push on for as long as he's able to collect the runs? I mean, what sort of length of rope does he get if he keeps having series returning 25 or 30 average across the series?
India are not playing a lot of Test cricket for the rest of the year, are they? So that kind of, I wouldn't say helps him, but it kind of gives him a chance to, if he makes runs in the second latter half of the series, and in the World Test Championship final, that should give him a run till the next time India play Test, which is towards the end of this year. And maybe I almost get a feeling he would personally love to finish in Australia next year, which is towards the end of or the home summer, 24-25 home summer, where India go there and play 5 Test matches, because he's got such a wonderful relationship with Australia. He starts his career against Australia. All his defining moments seem to have come against Australia. So that'll be a poetic end for him, and he'd also be almost 36, 37 by then?
I tell you, I mean, wrapping up at the Gabba in 2021 isn't a bad way to go if that ended up being his last match there instead. Tell me one thing, Sarfaraz Khan, who's averaged over 100 in the Ranji Trophy the last, 3 seasons? What does this guy have to do to get a game? He's not even in squads. What's the go? What is the GO when it comes to SK?
Look, I mean, as a Mumbai journalist, I'm one of the many who've spent a lot of our life writing about Sarfraz Khan from the time he was born to the time he scored that
From the
500.
time he was born. You wrote a match report on his birth.
Trust me, we
You
did.
know, yeah.
Some of us did.
Incredible form early, kept his shape, undeterred by the circumstances, level-headed.
Absolutely. Great technique in coming out of the crease as well. So like, so he made till the time he makes that big 400 in schools cricket, which makes him a superstar. Or was it a 500? I think Prithvi Shaw made the 500. And then his early days in Mumbai, where he struggled to make it in. We played a lot of matches with Sarfraz Khan. Every year, our Sports Journalists Association of Mumbai team would have a match against Sarfraz Khan's dad's team, where Sarfraz would always play for us and score a lot of runs against whoever the opposition was. There was this one year when we played against this Bollywood Select 11 team. So a lot of these Bollywood actors were playing in the opposition. Which included Sunil Shetty, KL Rahul, who we'll speak about, KL Rahul's father-in-law. And Sarfraz, I think we got 140. Sarfraz must have made 128 of those.
Right.
He just smashed them all over. And I was fortunate enough to be at the non-strikers end towards the end when he made his last 40 runs or so. And that was just brutal. And he was, 14 or so at that point.
Okay, so what's the deal? Why isn't he at least being circulated around the squads?
Look,
I know there's competition. So basically, to sort of answer my own question, in that Indian team, 3, 4 are locked. 6, as long as Jadeja's in the team, either your keeper's at 6 and he's at 7, or Jadeja's at 6 with the keeper at 7. So your only ways in are one of the 2 opening spots, which India changes roughly every 3 weeks, and the number 5. Like, there aren't a lot of opportunities. Not saying that he should necessarily be in at 5 if you've got Shreyas Iyer, who's the incumbent and who's been good recently, but how is he not at least nearby?
This is completely my theory, and I have no grounds to confirm or deny this. But the one thing Sarfraz Khan has always had throughout his career, from the time he was playing under 17s or under 15 cricket, is disciplinary issues. He's had a lot of them. I remember once he bullied kids in his team and he slapped a kid in his team, and there's a lot of issues. And there was a period when he left Mumbai and went to Uttar Pradesh, didn't work out, came back to Mumbai, and that's when he started scoring all these runs. And I think he's played enough, and he had issues when he played in the IPL as well. Like, it's much publicized, you can read about it if you want to. It's all on Google. But having said that, I don't know how Rahul Dravid views him. I'm not saying people can't grow up and people can't mature. He's still, 23, 24. So maybe, when you have that kind of reputation, that can play a role where you have to wait a little longer than someone else to get into the side. And like you said, there are 2 other Mumbai batters just about making it through, much older than him, and Shreyas Iyer and Suryakumar Yadav. Suryakumar Yadav, we saw him make his debut the other day. So I think that also plays a role.
Right.
But I just wonder if the disciplinary issues and some of the fitness issues you can get over if you average 100.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I wonder if the disciplinary issues that have kind of followed him around throughout his career are having an impact. Is Rahul Dravid as coach and the team management, are they ready to bring someone like that into the side? Maybe not. I don't know. That's the only reason I can see why he's not in the squad.
And Shubman Gill, the last one, I've said this on the show before, but watching him bat in Sydney and in Brisbane, 2021, all I could see was this guy has to be in the team for at least the next 5 years, maybe the next 10. Like, such a talent. And then you're circling back around with KL Rahul. I'm pretty sure that move will be made for the 3rd Test match. That's what everyone's assuming. But this Indian management have been very stubborn about keeping KL Rahul before.
That's the one I don't get. You have someone in KL Rahul who's now, 30, 31. He's covered his debut back in
Melbourne.
2014 Melbourne, when Joe Burns also made his debut. And he batted in the middle order. And
Played a horrible shot to get out.
He did, actually, yeah. He skied one, didn't he?
You understand that on debut, but, years later, you're supposed to have figured it out.
Absolutely. He makes runs in Sydney in the 2nd Test. And then ever since, this is like going back 9 years now, he's been in and out of the side ever since. He has good runs like he did against Australia in 2017 where he makes 750s. He had that great series alongside Rohit Sharma in England in, I'm going to say, 2021 when they opened together for the first time, and both of them got a lot of runs. I think maybe even 2018 he might have scored runs. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure. But then you look at his numbers, they just don't add up. And I do understand, look,
and you look at him, you watch him play the first 2 tests of this series, he looks dicey. He looks
Yes,
awkward.
he
He
looks
looks
very nervy,
lacking confidence. He pokes and prods and scratches around. And sometimes he helps provide a little partnership because Rohit's scoring so
Yeah.
comfortably at the other end, and maybe that's worth something. If he makes Rohit Sharma comfortable, then that might be worth a selection on its own. But he scratches out 15 or 18 or 20 or less and then gets himself out.
Oh yeah, and it's generally you see, especially in cricket, it's when you are kind of going through a phase where you're doubting yourself or you're nervous at the crease. It's when like things start going against you. I mean, that second innings dismissal was unlucky. I mean, he like flicks a full-blooded flick, which hits short leg and like kind of balloons into Alex Carey's hands. But those kind of things you'll see happen when someone is under pressure or someone is nervous at the crease. And you can see that he has always been a nervy starter, like a lot of batters in world cricket. But we saw him being criticized a lot even during the T20 World Cup and another format. Now that criticism is carried on to Test cricket, and where his numbers have not been flash at all for well over 10, 11, 12 tests. And now there's a big controversy brewing behind the scenes with all these former cricketers clashing against each other. One group wants him out, the other group wants him to stay. But it kind of makes sense because Shubman Gill, again, another guy who hasn't really taken Test cricket by storm yet, but he just got his first Test 100 very recently, was just in unbelievable form. Like, you know, he was scoring double hundreds and hundreds in all formats. And the fact that someone like him is being kept out in favor of KL Rahul, who, I mean, let's face it, I mean, he's had his moments for Indian cricket, but he's not a Kohli or a Pujara who have almost earned that right to get that lengthy.
He doesn't have the huge body of work behind him that says that you can't risk dropping this player because they might be about to embark on another 3-year scoring spree.
Exactly, and I think he's also benefiting from the fact that Rohit Sharma is scoring a lot of runs. And it happens in opening combinations, right? When one guy gets runs, even if you don't, it almost like, you know, and Rohit, because he scores so quickly, even here you saw in the first innings, they had a very decent partnership, but Rahul didn't contribute too much to it. And then he gets out, and then Nathan Lyon starts the collapse. So it can't go on forever. And there has been some talk I heard in the Indian media that in the recent squad announced he's not been named as vice captain. Maybe that's the start of, or that's one way of sending him a message saying, look, your performances need to do the, like, you know, the title's gone away from you. I heard somewhere that Ravindra Jadeja might be named vice captain. Who knows whether that works out or not. But yeah, I mean, the clock is ticking, unfortunately, for KL Rahul. And I'm sure he'll be aware of it more than anyone else.
It's got to be Ashwin. Give it to the brainiac. Give it to the professor.
Yep.
You know, give him the VC. Let's see. And then, you know, when Rohit Sharma rolls an ankle, Indian skipper, it's coming. You can sniff it in the breeze.
Toss, I mean, imagine Ashwin at the toss. Like, that itself
he'll work out some theory about how to game the toss.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Like at what point during the throw you call because he's actually worked out which way it's going to fall.
Absolutely.
Like card counting the toss. There's going to be something. You watch, you wait. I think that's enough from us. Final word daily. Make sure to think about visiting Melbourne. If you're planning a trip overseas, visit melbourne.com. That's where you can go and find out all about the town that I come from. Bharat's in Adelaide, but you know, it's not quite so nice. Just my personal opinion, just saying. And if you want to support our show, patreon.com/thefinalword. That means we can keep making these programs for you. You know, hit the buttons, share the links around, tell your friends. Final word daily from Delhi. See you later.